Hey everyone, this is Kulin Shah here. I'm the co-founder at Onsurity.
Kulin, you're operating in a very competitive space. I mean, like globally, it's a very competitive space. And I really want to know how you scaled in such a difficult industry. But first, just take me through your journey of, how did you becoming an entrepreneur? What was that journey of finding that you want to be an entrepreneur, finding the idea, what building the skills through your career, which is possible?
Right. So I think answer is a little longish one. Why being an entrepreneur? I come from a Gujarati family. Uh, you know, uh, the family has had a background of everyone doing their own business, right? And I think somewhere down the line, that always stays with you. That okay, you want to do something of your own. My first ever entrepreneurship a stint. And not many people know this actually. And I think this is the first time I'm actually going, public with it is that during my graduation days, a colleague of mine and I wanted to do something of our own. And we started in the exports business where we wanted to export wedding cards and CDs. And this talking about is 2002. So that time CDs were relevant and,
Yes, right.
and we wanted to do something around wedding cards. Failed at it. Um And then in one of the other summer vacations, we tried to build an EdTech platform, which was just towards, getting, test papers and examination papers of board exams online. But, some other project internally came in, so abandoned that also. And hence somewhere down the line, it was there that, want to do something of my own. After that, obviously, followed the regular journey of, doing my graduation in management studies, then did my MBA, went on to join Aditya Birla Group as a management trainee, spent close to about, 2.5 years out there. And being a management trainee, got the opportunity to work across multiple businesses, uh, did some work in corporate strategy and then went on to join IDEA. And then after that, got an opportunity to be a part of a VC fund. This was the CVC arm of Reliance ADAG.
CVC is corporate
Corporate
venture.
venture capital. Yes, corporate venture capital. And interestingly, this is in the year of 2008. Um, I told people that I'm joining a venture capital fund, and believe me, no one knew what venture capital was. So they said, "What will you do?" I said, "I will invest in small companies." And they said, "Oh, penny stocks." So is that what you're going to do? And I was like, no, no, these are companies which have not started, or not listed, right? Like these are very early stage companies. And people are like, okay, sure, all the best in whatever you do. And that was my first entrance into the startup space. This is back in 2008. Obviously, 2008 was not the best time to enter, any kind of a investment, entity, right? Because of the whole recession in US. But I think those were the formative years for me to kind of, really have, a first hand look at entrepreneurship, saw the real core of, entrepreneurs. And believe me, that time liquidity was not the way it is available today, right? That time a seed round of $100,000 was a very big deal. Today, angels put in $100,000, right? Uh, so saw that very upfront, saw how, entrepreneurs are actually building business fundamentally. Um, and this was the time, uh, when companies were actually going behind the real core of the business, solving for that core, right? When entrepreneurs were there who were helping always each other out. And I think that was very, very inspirational, right? That the reason I took up entrepreneurship was because I was sitting in a particular board meeting, right? And there's a seasoned entrepreneur, close to about 20, 25 years of experience. And you
This
have
you're
a
talking
guy
of during the Reliance CVC
during
days.
my Reliance days, right? You're in a board meeting and you suddenly feel the urge to, give your 2 cents on a business that an entrepreneur has seen for so long, right?
Yeah.
The entrepreneur just smiled at my as my suggestion. Very, very kind of him. Very kind of. And that's
Right.
the time it hurt, seeing that, like, it's so easy to be on the other side, but, the joy of being on the opposite side, seeing it day in and day out, right, was a time when I decided that, yes, that is something that I really want to kind of, do in my life. And that's when, started with my first entrepreneurial journey. Uh, this was a company called Wishberg. This is when we kind of, were trying to build a social bucket list and then see how we can help people to achieve their wishes. Ran that for 3.5 years out of a small
This was
flat.
India focused.
This was, no, this was actually global focused. And I think that is something that we could have done better. This was a truly global platform. We had people from close to about 8,900 odd countries, rediscovering us through Google and all of those things, and just kind of, sharing their bucket list with us. And ran it for about 3.5 years. Lot of learnings, lot of things on saying that, oh, this is how you should not be doing business, right? In fact, we had raised a small amount of capital at that point of time from India Quotient. And at that point of time, got an opportunity to work with the India Quotient team to start, sort of a mentorship program. And that's when I kind of, got again another exposure of, meeting uh, now the who's who of the, startup space. Back then, knowing an Anand Jain of Clever Tap, or knowing Dipinder Goyal of Zomato, or Kunal Shah at Freecharge, right? Was like, yeah, we are part of the same ecosystem, right? Obviously, a lot of respect for what they were building, but, all of us were part of the same ecosystem. And being with those, being, them, and, exchanging thoughts with them was really, really something that, helped in the next phase of the journey, where Freecharge got acqui-hired by Kunal at
You,
Freecharge.
what happened at Whisper? You shut
We
that down?
failed. Yeah, we failed. We shut that down. We were acqui-hired by Kunal, right?
Uh,
So Kunal was building the next growth phase at Freecharge,
Mm.
and one of
one
the
question
yeah,
before we start free
yeah, sure,
charge.
sure, sure.
What were the learnings from Whisper? It seems to me like Whisper could have succeeded if you had not raised money, because it could have been a lifestyle business. Maybe you would have been 500,000 to 1 billion AR kind of small product. I mean, there are lots of these micro SaaS is what they call them these days. It could have been a micro SaaS, maybe monetization through ad revenue, stuff like that, but not a VC grade business for sure. And I'm saying this purely based on, is there a TAM? Is there monetization? What are your thoughts of?
Yeah, I think um, in today's day and age, I think Wishbok could have been a fairly big, and, interesting platform to have. I think back in the days we were slightly early, right? Uh,
But
at
so
that point
you
of
feel there is
time,
a TAM for it? Like I don't see the TAM. What is the what's the? I mean,
oh
what do you
yeah. So
see it as?
see, think about it this way: that, people are kind of, this is all before you had the Instagrams of the world, right? Where you could actually go, say that, okay, this is what I want to do, right? A bucket list of sort, right? I'm putting these bucket lists out there. It also morphed into a sort of a social networking platform, right? Where people could come and discover each other's bucket list, right? I could add something that you would like to my bucket list, right? We also experimented with, things like group buying, right? Where, say, 25 people in the same city could actually come together, right? And get a great discount on, say, an iPhone, right? Or could get a great discount on a Tata Nexon, right? Uh, I think back then it was a little early because we are all web first, right? It was not mobile native. Penetration was not there. People were always asking, people are already asking at that point of time also, why do I even need to be on Facebook, right? This is of 2011 I'm talking about, right? Uh, India internet had not seen that, that
The
juncture, or
geo
not
effect.
that, yeah, the geo effect, or the 4G effect, right? Where everyone had a smartphone in their hand, right? So I think TAM is definitely there, right? Because today also, right now, while you're talking to me, right, there are three things that you wish for, three things that you want to buy, right? Two of them could be aspirational. One could be like, how I need to buy it, right? And today with the disposable income that is available, I think it was a great way for people to discover what next, right? And that's exactly what we do on these social network platforms, right? Oh, someone bought something new. I want to do it, right? So I think a lot of scope for a product like uh, uh, Amazon has this from for donkeys years now, right? The wish
Yes,
list
the wish list.
product,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Uh, uh, I don't know whether they call it that, whether they've scaled it or not. But I think a product outside of that would have definitely scaled. And look at the amount of commerce that is happening. Right? Look at the number of brands that are there today, right? Great way to monetize it. Great way, like you rightly said, right? A great way to run an ad network. Right? I know exactly what you want. Google still knows and search intent, but a platform like this would actually know what exactly you want, right? I can exactly give you the contextual, feed for it, right? So I think
I'm
it
purely
had great one.
like academic discussion, but
Yeah,
why would people come again and again? This seems like a one-time thing. Why would you come?
exactly. I
Like,
think the needed hooks were not there, right? That has been one of the biggest learnings. I think at that
okay,
point of time, the thought process was on growth, uh, engagement, and not on gratification, right? I think if you can get some of those levers right, where there is growth, there is engagement, and obviously a way to gratify, right? Uh, small things like I want to lose weight. I put it up as a wish. People come, start engaging with me. In the middle, some say a trainer comes and says, "Hey, you know what? Let me help you." Right? I'm able to put photographs. Right? Creates a feed of my, wish list and what I've achieved. Right? It's my way of telling the world what all I've achieved in life. Right? I think that's something that will definitely bring people back.
okay. Do you think it was the right call to raise VC money?
Yeah, because you didn't have money, right, at that
Okay.
point of time.
Sure.
And especially for me, someone like me who comes from the VC space, right, knows that there is money that can be raised out there, right? So you definitely want to put your previous learnings into practice and say, hey, you know what? Yes, we can raise money.
But you
So
raised before your PMF, right?
we raised it during getting our PMF. So
Okay.
it was still in the early days for sure, but we had like a year's, we did a year's journey, and then we kind of
Okay.
raised money. So yeah.
So Kunal Shah did an acqui hire. So he was looking at you for driving growth and recharge.
Yes, I think at that point of time they were looking at someone to start something known as growth partnerships, right? And these growth partnerships were something that we really wanted to see if they could bring in uh, organic growth, but through partnerships wherein you kind of leverage other people's platform, and how do you get the users from that particular platform to kind of transact on your platform, right? And that time free charge was not that big as yet, right? So what we realized is that, hey, you know what, we could actually say do a tie up with someone like an Amazon, right? We could do a tie up with, back then there was a company called Line Messenger, right, in India. There were like millions of users out there, right? And you actually held the currency of those users, which is recharge, right? So if you were able to kind of give them the right, offers and rewards for doing certain, fulfilling certain objectives, right? I think it was a great, way to kind of re-envision how to bring users at a very low cost, right? Because at that point of time, also I remember that the growth partnership channel, the one that I was leading, right, had the lowest amount of cost, and that actually brought down our overall cost of marketing from our acquisitions perspective. And mind you, these are people who are digitally native. These are transacting users. These are users who are already used to doing a certain user journey on board, on the mobile. And hence, when you get these kind of users, right, they are bound to be more sticky. They are bound to be people who are not looking at doing things like cash on delivery and stuff like. So yeah, very valuable users as an organization. So that was the thought process to kind of do something like this.
And this was, you stayed after the acquisition by Snapdeal also with access.
Yeah. uh, After Snapdeal, yes, I was there. So we joined Freecharge in 2014, mid 2014. And the Snapdeal acquisition actually happened sometime in April of 2015. And, that's the time when, being Snapdeal, right? Uh, they knew that there was a great opportunity for someone to do something in the payment space. They're already looking at doing something in payment space, and this is exactly what they thought that would give a big boost. Is a huge user base of Freecharge, plus because Freecharge had no COD, which means it had only online paying customers, right? And these customers are the ones who would actually use if you have your own wallet. So at that point of time, wallet was very fancy, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
Everyone wanted
Mobi,
a wallet,
Paytm.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes,
These companies, yeah, yeah.
yes. So Paytm, MobiQuick, Ola, by the way, had a wallet, right?
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
Yes. I know I used to compete with Ola, and I was like, boss, Ola's has got a wallet. How are you going to compete against them, right? But surprisingly, right, we had a great team out there, and the late Govind Rajan, who was ex Airtel and ex HUL, led the show, uh, Freecharge post the Snapdeal acquisition. So, and that was the time when we saw the a massive point of inflection, right? Uh, we acquired close to about 1 lakh online merchants in less than 12 months, and that was a mandate that was given to me and my team, right? Uh, and out of which close to about 150, 175 odd merchants were direct integrations, right? Obviously, you obviously work with other PGs and all, but having 150, 175 direct integrations was an amazing thing with, the who's who brand of at that point of time, right? E-commerce brands, food delivery brands, right? Even ride hailing companies, right? So
Like,
that was a great
essentially,
inflection point. Yeah.
like say as Zomato, if it tied up with Freecharge, then there would be an option to pay by Freecharge when you're checking out.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think these partnerships actually were good turning point for me personally, is because I realized that how you position yourself as a partner is very important, right? If I ever position myself as a payment company, right, I would actually be talking to only CFOs, and the only thing that I would be talking about is what is the merchant rate that I need to give them, right? The MDR. And that's where all the conversations will fall. We realize that that's not the way we should take our wallet. We should actually talk about our wallet as a growth engine, because Recharge had 50 million users at that point of time, right? So we would go and tell brands that, hey, do you want to work with a company which can drive 50 million users to your platform, right? Which are
Right.
which are contextually very relevant for you, right? Our users are the ones who will obviously use our wallet. That means that reduces your share of COD. And by the way, COD was big out then, right? We didn't have our UPIs at that time, right? So I tell a lot of new entrepreneurs saying that if you can survive in a world where there is no UPI, right? That's the world that I talk from,
So true. So true. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And we built a platform at a time when Facebook was not the growth engine, right? So a lot of these things started feeling that how do you position your product, right, in a highly commoditized market, right, uh, is going to be the key of it, right? If you go and tell everyone, hey, I'm a wallet and I'm a payment platform, please use me, they'll say, boss, line mein chal, aa jao. Right? There are 10 people who also want to work with me. I'm not going to entertain you, right? And that's exactly what we're trying to do, right? So moved gears and said, no, growth platform, we'll invest in money, right, to drive transactions, right? We'll be like a extended marketing arm, right, where we'll do all of this, talking about your platform, talking about the cool features, and then drive transactions to our platform, right? So, in fact, I remember that we did a full page ET or a Times of India ad just with all the logos of partners who had been integrated with us, and saying that you can transact anywhere in across these partners and we'll give a certain amount of, either a
Cashback.
discount or a cashback, right?
Okay.
And I think that was very well thought through, right? Seeing that was one single ad, I get my partners, buy-in. Plus, I can go back to the consumer and say, trust me, because I work with the best brands in India, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I think this is truly, truly a partnership model. And yeah, very, very interesting journey at Free Charge.
And did the partnership as growth hack continue at Acco also? You joined Acco next, right?
Yeah. So um, there was demonetization in 2016. And that's the time when I left Free Charge because I wanted to personally take a small break because my wife was in US. So went ahead and, took a sabbatical. I think everyone whom I knew was in the space said, you are making the biggest mistake of your career because who leaves during demonetization, a company which is into wallets, right? Uh, but I think it's okay. In the hindsight, it's all okay. Uh, I was in the US for close to about 7 months. Great learnings out there. Getting to a completely different side of, you know the industry. How people think about growth, how people think about engagement, how people think about business out there. Right, got a first hand experience. When I came back to India, yes, had a few offers in hand, and but there was this one company which was really standing out at that point of time was Acco, and that's how I kind of joined them as an early team member. I remember when I signed my offer letter in September of 2017, they didn't have the official license from the IRDA. They were just in the process of receiving it, and I was one of the early team members out there. Uh, and I was like, why am I even joining an insurance company, right? Like, although for my dad it was a big thing because he's like, at least तुम रिचार्ज बेचने से कुछ इंश्योरेंस तो बेच रहे हो मतलब.
Okay.
So my dad was being a complete disbeliever of the startup ecosystem. He first said, "You're starting your own company does not make profit. Why should someone invest in you?" Then he said, "Yeah, तू free charge गया है. What are you really doing? Like तुम पनवाड़ी का धंधा कर रहा है यार. Like that guy is the one who scratches the card and gives you recharge. तुम क्या कर
Yeah.
रहा है यार? Like he and I had to actually show him a press release of recharge to tell him that no, this company is stable. And now suddenly I'm joining a company which is completely new into insurance. He said, तुमने कभी insurance बेचा नहीं है, right? And I never owned a car, so I didn't even know about motor insurance, right? So he said, तू क्या करेगा वहाँ पे? I said, let's figure it out, right? So when I was talking to the ACO guys, right, I think the one thing that they really kind of saw was the potential of creating contextual products, creating micro products. And that's because that's what's the key at free charge, right? How do you create uh, offers and rewards which are small in nature but kind of had a higher perception value, right? And I think that's what something that we are kind of looking at ACO to do, kind of completely disrupt how people looked at insurance. And I think one of the biggest learning at Freecharge was uh, you need to give uh, you need to give some reward to remove friction when you're buying a product, right? And especially when you're trying a new product. ACO was new, right? We had to remove the friction for someone to trust the brand. And I think partnership was going to be that one thing where you could actually partner with, again, big brands, right? Large companies with large bases, right? And put a contextual, product out there which didn't
Like
hurt the
say
wallet.
somebody is booking an Uber trip and you insure accident insurance for 2 rupees or something like that. I'm assuming that's
And that was actually the first product, right? Like,
okay.
like you mentioned, right? It was
Um,
actually with Ola, right? We
okay.
actually provided, I think, if not India's possibly, if not the globe, so at least India's first ever 1 rupee insurance, you know, out there, right? See, embedded insurance was not new, right? People were already embedding it, right? China was doing it. US in some shape and format was doing it. Some
I think
products in
travel insurance also has always been
has always
embedded,
been
right?
an embedded product, right?
Buy
Like
tickets and this add-on
correct,
offer.
correct, right? So I think embedded insurance was not new because people were attaching insurance, and this is like since 2012, 2014, right? But I think how you go about doing it was something that, we wanted to kind of do it differently, right? Creating a complete online journey, right, for claims, ensuring that people, and that's where, our my colleague at ACO, who's my now co-founder, Yogesh, right? How to kind of look at risk, how to look at data, right? Uh, and then how to kind of, create models around that. So something that was very interesting. We did at ACO. Uh, I think when I left ACO in 2020, um, we had, as in my portfolio had insured close to about 40 million unique users and built a book of close to about 100 crores in gross written premium or GWP, right? So yeah, very interesting days at
What is
ACO.
this term? Gross written premium?
So the revenue that an insurance company gets is it's the premium that you pay for an insurance, right? So that is and then gross written premium is the upfront amount that you take from a particular user,
Okay.
right? And and then comes the next term called earned premium, which is actually divided by the exposure period. So for example, if you're buying a car insurance for say 1,200 rupees, you pay upfront that is 1,200 rupees, that is the GWP. And then when you divide it by 12 for that month, right, it is basically 100 rupees, that is the earned premium for that month. So yes,
Okay.
that's cross written.
Oh, okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. And I think in the last 1 or 2 decades, there have only been two new insurance companies, Acco and Digit.
So actually, there have been new companies. There was Aditya Birla, which launched their health insurance company in 2016, if I'm not mistaken, right? Then there were the Edelweiss of the world who had launched. But I think digitally, people who were digital native, Digit and Acco got the license around the same time. I think there's a difference of 1 day basically between
Oh,
the
wow.
licenses getting issued. So yeah, I think, but they've always been called as the digital native insurance companies, right? So yeah.
Why is this? Hasn't there been an explosion here? Is it that the license is hard to get, or what is?
Uh, I think the regulators have been fairly cautious of whom they want to give the insurance to, right? It's a very specialized business. Uh, And if you see, it's very similar to even the recent, from an RBI perspective, from the banking license perspective, right? They've really not given it to too many people, right? Uh, I think there are two things. One, that not too many people actually qualify for even starting these kind of companies, right? And even if you qualify, right, um, at the end of the day, it's not just any other business. You are actually talking about the money of the end user, right? And in this case, the policyholder's money, right? The policyholder, imagine, has given you 100 rupees, hoping that someday in of their need, you'll give them 1,000 rupees, right? If a company does not do well, or you just kind of dole out licenses, right? And if the company does not do well, right? At the time of the need, right? I have not only lost my 100 rupees, but the time of the need, I'm also not getting the 1,000 rupees that I'm supposed to get, right? So
Yeah.
I think I think it's a cautious move. But if you see the recent news, right? The now chairman, uh, Devashish Pandaji, right? You see under his regime, right? A lot of new licenses have come, right?
Okay.
A lot of new players have got licenses at this point of time, right? Right from Digit and Acco getting life insurance licenses to a company called Shema, who's got a general insurance license, to Narayana Health, who's got a health insurance license, right? And all of this in the last, 12 to 16 months, right?
Okay.
So yeah, I think the regulator has now kind of seen uh, you know, the potential of the country, right? Of now, because we have been a completely underpenetrated country when it comes to insurance, right? Our so the term that people normally say is insurance penetration. It's basically the spends in insurance versus your GDP, right?
Okay.
Uh, Globally, and I think I was reading this number somewhere, that globally US has got close to about 8.6. percent penetration when it comes to non-life insurance. India is at 1%, right? And that's the scope that we have today, right? Uh,
What
and I
would be a
think
China like?
China is close to possibly about 2 or 2.5, right? So emerging economies, right, have traditionally seen very low penetration of insurance. And hence the only penetration of insurance, back in the days was only motor insurance because that was regulated, right?
Mm.
So motor used to be the largest book from an insurance perspective. And I think that's what ACO wanted to and continues to do is kind of focus on motor insurance, right? And I think the partnership business that we brought on board, right, would possibly become a funnel to creating that brand awareness, telling people that, hey, you already trusted us, now trust us and there's possibly more business, right? So I think that's what embedded insurance does worldwide is that, you get in contextually, you create a brand awareness. If there's a claim, you bring in that trust element, right? And have seen one thing that any new brand, right, always uses partnership as a model to kind of, see a growth spurt, right? Because no one will trust you, and uh, rightly so. But when you are kind of, working with a favorite brand of mine and they trust you, I have a reason to say, hey, you know what, they've done their business, right? Of, checking you out.
There's a rub
Possibly
off
let
effect.
me, yeah, that's the rub off effect, right? That's I call it the goodwill that kind of, you get. It's the shared goodwill that you start getting out of there.
Right. So what you're saying is that 1 rupee accident insurance is not a revenue leader, but it's a funnel item. It's a way to build a funnel. Like it allows you to further cross sell to them a car insurance, other such products.
I would slightly disagree because whenever you think about partnership models, you also look at high volume, while the value is low, but you see at high volume use cases, right?
Yeah, yeah,
If
there'll
I'm
be
not
like lakhs of Uber rides every day. Right.
correct, correct, right? So I think I'm not sure, but if my memory serves me right, I think the partnership business that uh, you know uh, at ACO that we were running contributed close to about 25% of its overall revenue,
Uh-huh.
right?
Okay.
So
Mm.
I would not say necessarily that was not a uh, you know revenue leader. In fact, partnership business had a lot of stability to it, had a lot of
Yes.
predictability to it. So
High
I think
margin because you're not spending on customer acquisition.
exactly right.
Mm.
In some sense, I always used to tell myself, this is a great business because customers are actually paying you to become a customer, right?
Yeah,
Right?
that's true.
Why does guys doing performance marketing, right?
Yeah,
It's customer marketing, right?
yeah, that's true. That's true. Like, that's a good way to understand this.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, how did the onshore India come to you?
So I had tasted blood of sabbatical. Okay. I knew that.
Is the
I knew.
first time I've heard someone say that they tasted the blood of sabbatical.
By the way, I'm very proud of it. And I tell everyone that they should take a sabbatical at least once in 7 or 8 years. I think it does wonders to you. The kind of exposure that you get is unparalleled, right? Uh, and I'm going to digress a little. I remember this one conversation in a fintech meet in New York where I met someone and said, "So what are you doing in New York?" I said, "I'm on a sabbatical." He said, "I worked for 25 years and I've never taken a sabbatical in my life. I don't understand your generation, right?"
Yeah.
And here I am telling people take a sabbatical. It does wonders to you.
Yeah.
so, so the last time my wife was in New York, and this time around my sister was in New York. I said, my sister's elder to me, and there's no reason why a younger brother should not mooch off his sister and take some pocket money and be in her, in her New York apartment and enjoy that. Little knowing that after putting down your papers in January, uh, COVID is going to come in March.
Oh, oh, shucks. Did you
So
manage to land in New York or you could fly only?
I couldn't fly out itself.
Okay. Okay.
So and around the time that I left, Yogesh was kind of dribbling with the idea of doing something in the healthcare for SMEs, right? Saying that, he's seen SMEs firsthand. Uh, and, he was sharing some anecdotes saying that, dude, guy in my office met with an accident and now I have to pay this guy, right? And he used to run a consulting firm that time. He said, I'm trying to hire people and and see, Yogesh's background comes from insurance, right? 13 years in insurance, and he's an actuary, right? Uh, and he's like, dude, I can't get a product for my consulting company, which is 15 people, right? I'm having to justify to outside, in the insurance space, saying that why they should give me a product. He's like, I'm not liking this. And that's the time, we said, hey, you know what? Let's do something for the SMEs. And, you know, uh, but what is that thing that we can do for SMEs, right? Uh, SMEs tend to kind of, want to do something for their employees, either to retain them or to, hire them, right? And especially white collar SMEs at that point of time were always on the back foot because one, I can match salaries, right? But I can't give the perks and benefits of a Google or a Big Four or a highly accomplished manufacturing company, right? I can match salaries, right? Because I know that I can get those margins. That's why I'm hiring. People wouldn't join you because one, they're taking a risk, right? Second, you're not even giving the same perks and benefits, right? And I don't know what's going to happen to my next paycheck, right? So uh, only the as I say that only the brave can go to for a startup journey, right? And because they don't have any of these things, right? We said let's do something out here, right? So we said let's do something for SMEs. Let's do something for their employees because that would be a great way to kind of get into an SME business, right? And health was something that was completely underpenetrated. So just to throw a few numbers, uh, there are close to about 63 to 65 million SMEs in India, right? These SMEs hire close to about 115 odd full-time employees. And if you add the contractual gig, it comes down to about 330 million people. Now, these 330 million people, if you include their dependents, right, it's close to about 650 odd million Indians, right? Now, we said, what is it that they don't have, right? They have salaries, you know, uh, but they don't have any other benefits out there. At the same time, if you look at, so we create a triangle and we said the top of the pyramid uh, is all your corporate HNIs people, and they are like, the companies give them health insurance, right? Then you have the bottom of the pyramid, which the government is looking at, right? Through, Ayushman Bharat. These are below the poverty line, farmers, right? And, but no one's doing anything for the middle, right? He said, boss, this is the missing middle of India when it comes to healthcare, right? Only 5% of the employers were giving some kind of insurance because either it is mandated to them via one of the, back-to-back contracts, or, these are people who have come from outside and figured out somehow to provide a product, right? He said, but why is that no one else is buying out here, right? Are we going after a market which does not want to take this product? So we started talking to SME owners, right? Some in Bombay, some in Surat, some back in Bangalore, right? Some in the north part of the country, right? Everyone said very interesting things. They said, you know, all these things are fancy things. They are not meant for us. They are meant for larger companies. And you know what? We can't spend so much of money at the outset, right? We need smaller products. We need smaller payments, right? And those guys are and very big people. They have four people who are only handling insurance and insurance claims, right? Everything will come onto my head, right? Adding people, deleting people, right? Claims aega, so I don't even have someone who's going to look at the claims, right? Just too much of hassle for me, right? So we said, if we are able to solve these things, so everyone laughed and said, if you can solve these things, then why should we not buy it, right? And I think that was the genesis where we said, hey, personal experience is there that we need it. Market is saying that there is a need for a product like this. And then added tailwinds came from the fact that COVID happened, right? So people were looking at some kind of a financial protection, something to kind of keep them, make sure that they are staying healthy, right? And at that point of time, we realized that, hey, we should do something out here, right? So let's do something that drives ROI. Because see, health insurance as a financial product, if you look at it, and there's enough empirical evidence, and it's a smoothened curve now, right? 8% of the people kind of go ahead and take insurance in a health insurance, right? So if 100 people are buying insurance,
Doesn't claim.
8% claim the product, right? That means if there are 100 people, only 8 people of them will claim in a single year, right? So if we go back and tell an SME that, we are giving this product to you, the SME will now start thinking, iska ROI kya hai, right? Uh, then if only 8 people are going to take, then why am I taking this, right? And then, and mind you, by the way, SME owners, right, have all taken some kind of a life insurance product. And if if their uncles are smart enough, they would have sold the endowment product only to them. They would have never sold the term insurance, right? You have an endowment product, I'm sure, at some point of time. I I can't hear you. Sorry.
Okay, so this endowment is the same as ULIP, right?
Oh, ULIP is separate. Endowment is when someone would have told you in your 20s that when you grow old at 50,
Okay.
you'll get bulk of the money, like 5 lakh rupees, 7 lakh rupees, right? Not knowing that that was the worst,
Yeah.
investment product, right?
Yep, yep, yep.
So, um, so all of these SMEs know that okay, at some point of time I should get the money back, right? But health insurance doesn't work that way. So we had to give them something, right, which was something more useful for everyone. And that's why we thought about, coming up with a product focused at SMEs, something that was not built thinking of large companies in mind, but actually thinking grassroots. Uh, People who are actually contributing to 30% of your GDP, they don't have a product today, right? So he said, let's go behind that market. And then let's start thinking SME first. Let's start focusing on SME first experience, right? Let's get in everything that they need as the basic thing, right? And uh, let's not kind of, get distracted saying that, but if we go after that one 5,000, people company, amazing, right? So we had to push ourselves and say, make it operationally efficient, make it capital efficient, ensure that there is experience, ensure that there is engagement, right? And ensure that people see the value so it is sustainable, right? It shouldn't be a 1 year product and saying, chalo yaar, let's discuss, right? So we said that SME focused from a capital perspective. We said, another do the capital, we said, what should the product be looking like? We said, let's not just give health insurance. Actually, let's give them health and wellness also, right? And at that point of time, teleconsultations, at-home checkups, discounted medicines, right? All of these are great value drivers for an SME because, the employees, if you give them like a 60% discount on a lab test, give them almost like a 20% discount on medicines, right? It's a big, big savings for them, right? Um, which means that, an SME now says that the employees are coming back and saying, sir, great, great incentive you've given me. It is saving my money. I really appreciate what you've given me today, right? And in that 8% use case, if someone kind of, has a claim, right? The SME earlier was giving these claims from their balance sheet, right? Because it's like a moral duty that, he was traveling for work, met with an accident, right? I need to pay that 75, 80,000 rupees to the family for their hospital bills, right? And the SMEs always knew one thing. I pay for one guy's bill. I have to pay for everyone's bill. And now I have to start doing a lending work because now someone will come and say, sir, आपने
Salary
उसका अस्पताल
advance.
का बिल दिया था, मेरे घर पे वेडिंग आया है करके, right? मुझे एडवांस दीजिए, right? So the SME is getting trapped in these kind of cycles, right? So, and at that point of time, we also, noticed one thing that any kind of a medical bill that came during COVID, right? It actually pushed, I think what was it, 1% or 2% of the people below the poverty line. And that too on a denominator like ours in a country, right? That's a very large number. So we said this is possibly the product that we need to make. We combine health, wellness, and insurance. Make it modular in nature. So if someone wanted only health and wellness, they could take that. Someone wanted it along with insurance, we could bundle that. Right. So we said we'll create the India's first ever health and wellness kind of a subscription model, right? SMEs would not pay upfront, so we said we'll make it on a monthly basis, right? And hence, kind of relaxing the capital flow that would come out. Right? It's now a monthly kind of a product, right? And this is where all the learnings of the partnership came in, saying that hey, uh, if you want people to change behavior, if you want people to adopt a product, reduce the friction of coming in, right? So a monthly product versus an annual product right, made all the difference, right? Because now I have predictability of cash flows, right? So an SME was also happy saying that great, I'm happy to pay on a month-on-month basis. I anyways pay an electricity bill. I anyways pay my utility bills, which is on a monthly basis. For a startup, they any which ways pay their AWS bill on a monthly basis, right? So all of this monthly kind of thing really resonated well with the SMEs, right? Um, the second one was obviously tech. Uh, Contrary to a lot of people's belief, right? Even in a Gupta ji's mom and pop store, Gupta ji uses technology, right? He files GST, right? He takes orders online. He delivers things online, right? He sells online, right? So Gupta ji is not a guy who's like the 1960s or 1970s or 1980s Gupta ji. Gupta ji has a mobile phone, has done online transaction, right? Is paying money through net banking, right? So we said for Gupta ji, right? We will ensure that we create a easy to use dashboards, right? Where an SME owner or a single HR member can really use these dashboards to completely streamline their operational journey, right? So we created these dashboards. Uh, we realized that the purchase journey for even large corporates takes about 60 to, I don't know, 60 to 75 days for getting a health insurance plan on board. Onsurity made that a 5-minute journey, right? People can actually come online. They can select, they can select their plan, give a monthly mandate and get out and use the dashboards to add their team members and delete their team members, right? We are the only platform today which kind of provides this kind of a OTT, and that's our favorite example, right? An OTT platform where you come, select your plan, and just get out, and then every month it keeps deducting, right? Uh, if I can use this format in your podcast is at this point of time, I want a lot of the podcast listeners or viewers to actually think about it and say, when is the time when they actually took their first Netflix subscription or their first AWS subscription or their first electricity subscription, right? No one remembers, right? No one really remembers that. So, and that's the power of, monthly products, right? And believe me, uh, we are a sachet economy, right? If you want to
Yep.
launch a new
True.
shampoo, you need to have a sachet,
Yeah.
right? And that's the learning that we took to our when we went to our SMEs, right? So like I mentioned, capital efficiency sorted for operational efficiency sorted because of our entire dashboards. When it comes to employees, we created a entire app where you could right from seeing your digital healthcare cards to seeing which hospitals you can go to, getting online services of teleconsultations, getting online, booking of medicines, lab tests, so on and so forth. So we are able to also drive engagement out here with the users, right? So the mobile app was a great way to even reduce, operational inefficiencies at our end. And from the experience perspective, we realized that in insurance, everything is a paper till the claim comes. And if you can wow the person at the moment of truth, the person stays back, right? Then the person is like, "Arey yaar, wo log achhe hain," right? Let's not move the business from there. Right? And I think all of us go through that journey in some format or the other, right? If in your case, even if a new milkman comes, right, you say, "Nahi, dude, that guy delivers on time. Packets is fresh. Don't have to, do too much of this. Why move my vendor, right?" So we said if we can really crack claims, right? We'll be able to create two things: great experience and sustainability, right? And two very important elements for Onsurity, at least, and for any business, I think it should be. Uh, we created a first of its kind, um, a claims concierge team of doctors. So these are doctors who has done some work on claims in the past, right? And we realized that claims is a broken experience, not just in India or globally, right? If there is one thing that people don't like about insurance, is claims, and it's the same reason why they want to take insurance, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and this is what we completely disrupted. Uh, we created a team which would handhold you from at the time of pre-authorization, admission, discharge, right? We became the single layer where we facilitated claims with our insurance partner, right? We told our insurance partner, hey, let us create the experience layer, right? We know that you already have a challenge, right? And as a platform, we want to really scale. And if we start scaling and you don't use technology at your end, right, it means that we will never be able to scale. And we build the right layers, right? Uh, right from letting people know which hospitals they can go to, which is the nearest hospital that they can go to, right? Where is their healthcare card? Because in most of the companies that I have worked in, right, a healthcare card was a physical card. Believe me, no one knows where they keep it,
Yeah, true.
right? And by the way, that card actually takes you about 60 days to come to you, right? After joining a new company. And here is a company like Onsurity, which is giving it on a real time basis, right? So a lot of these things actually help to streamline the experience for our users, especially when it came to reimbursement, right? Uh, the reimbursement journey is broken. You have to download forms, you have to attach paperwork. Paperwork needs to be sent to, either a partner or an insurance company or a TPA. Once these papers go, they will look at it and then they'll ask for more papers. Right? It takes like 60 days. And here we are in an economy where we are expecting everything to come in 10 minutes at my house, right? Right. I'm looking at payments coming in the next minute, right? With the UPI, right? How on earth are you going to justify that your claims will take 60 days, right? So we said, hey, we're going to do completely away with paperwork. We were the first ones to kind of have a health insurance completely digital native. No, no, no requirement of adding anything which is paper driven, right? So no attachments, nothing. Just take photographs, send it to us, and we have back-to-back integrations with our partners, where then we kind of start facilitating these claims, right? And this team in the middle, right, would start thinking, saying that, hey, you know what? We anticipate these gaps, we anticipate these shortfalls, right? So even before it goes for an investigation or adjudication, right, we start telling these people that these are the possible gap areas. You might want to be ready and give this to us so that we can facilitate this whole process faster, right? Uh, we have now around time of about uh, 24 to 48 hours. If all the documents are in our place, we can pass a claim in 24 to 48 hours today, along with our
Amazing.
insurance partner, right? Because now our insurance partner, right, really depends on us, right? Saying that, hey, you know what, if you can facilitate all of this, right, I will adjudicate fast, I'll make the payments fast, right? But do make sure that, you get all of these documents and all of this in place. And even better if it comes digitally to us, right? And there has been a sea change in how insurance companies have started looking at platforms like Onsurity. Right? They want to enhance their experience, right? And hence they are okay of letting go of some amount of control, right? And saying, hey, you know what? You facilitate this for us. You build this for us. And we will reciprocate with a better experience for your users, right? And today, by the way, CC for the entire world means credit card, but it's a nightmare in the insurance space because CC means cancelled check, right? Get any 24-year-old or a 26-year-old in the room and say cancelled check. They'll say cancel
Correct.
suna hai, check kya hota hai sir,
Yeah,
right?
really.
That's the first thing that they'll say. I said, that booklet in which you write and said, no, I do UPI. I don't need check. He said,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
that guy needs check to give you money. He said, I don't
Yeah.
know how to get that. So we've even done off with some of those kind of processes, right? Using the current, payment stack that is developing in India. right? We've done away with those kind of things also. And hence, now think about it, 4 years later. So we started in 2020. 4 years later, we have close to about 70% of uh, customers, who've been on board with us from day one, still with us. We have a year-on-year retention ratio of close to about 80% plus, right? Uh, we now have not only SMEs working with us, but we also have inbound queries from larger organizations saying that, why don't you work with us? Because we want to provide this kind of an experience to you know, to our employees, right? I'll not name this company because there's a confidentiality clause, but this company was one of our larger clients, 3,000 odd employees came to us and said, we want to work with Onsurity. And we said, but we don't serve large companies. And they took it on themselves and said, what do you mean by you not serve large companies? Like, who are you guys who are saying no to such a large business? And the HR made a comment saying that you are a Gujarati. How can you say no to business? Right. When I'm giving you. So I went to and told Yogesh, you are a Marwadi, I'm a Gujarati. People are actually talking about this, but we take pride of serving SMEs, right? Because we realized and we told because we expected that large companies would have, this thing of, we will make a phone call and we want someone to talk to us. And we said, listen, none of our customers even talk to us. They just send in an email or they just create a request on our app, right? And suddenly it was a refreshing experience for large companies because now people are not rushing to HRs and saying, hey, you know what, solve our claims query because it's already there on your app. You have a real time tracking of your claims, right? You're not going back and saying, I can't find my card, get me a new card. You don't need to do that. It's there on the app, right? And now an SME client proudly tells a larger company saying that, guys, what you don't have, I have an access to that kind of a tech. I kind of have an access to that kind of a platform. And that's the kind of experience that my, employees get. And possibly you might not be getting that, right? So we feel very, very, satisfied at the end of the day that empowered an SME, right, who can now, um, you know, onboard a talent from a large company, right, without having to think that will I be able to meet their expectations or not, because Onsurity can provide a product like that. We are able to retain, key, especially in startups and places like that, right? They can actually retain their employees, saying that, hey, you know what, all the big things that you get in, larger e-commerce companies or something, we can give it to you, right? But stay back with us, right? We are
What
not
is
saying we are
the
not, yeah,
you have a health and wellness element in that? What is that? Like that
yeah,
is
Ash.
like charged extra? Like it's a
No, so
premium.
that is our core product. By the way, that is our core product, right? Health and wellness is our core product, right? Because we realize that that has got more engagement than just selling insurance, right? So
What is it like? Doctor consent or doctor on
yeah,
demand
yeah,
or something?
absolutely. So at any given point of time, you want to talk to a doctor, right?
Yeah.
Across all specialties, right? You can talk to them. Right? Second one is you can, being at home, right? You can order for a lab test, right? You get discounts on medicines, right? You don't have to go to three different apps to do all of these things. At the same time, you know that Onshort is a company which has been validated by your uh, employer whom you trust so much, right? And hence the whole, the rub-off effect, right? We are actually taking the goodwill of the company, of an employer, and telling the employees that, hey, you know what, this is available, right? I think what we solved for is access and affordability, right? Uh, we give the access to SMEs to provide a product like this. We gave them the affordable means to provide a product like this. And we went on top of that and said, listen, SMEs might not be able to give you a plan which is meant for their entire family, right? So can we create plans which a person can purchase for their family members, right? At least let's give them an access. Even if the SME cannot afford it, let's give it the access to the employee so that the employee can create an inclusive environment at home, right? And again, being monthly, the employee does not have to think कि पापा के लिए लूँ, मम्मी के लिए लूँ, बीवी के लिए लूँ और बच्चे का तो छोड़ देते हैं, वो उसको क्या होने वाला है? तो अभी छोटा है, right? We just wanted to move completely out of that, right? We wanted to create an inclusive platform. And hence, we provided all of these things under a single offering. So, yes, today we also provide things like mental wellness plans, right? We are able to kind of provide gym memberships, right, for more evolved companies or more evolved employees who want to take that. So everything under health and wellness under a single platform, right? And those companies who want to provide insurance, we can also enable that. So yeah, that's the way we work.
What is the pricing for this health and wellness thing? So you're saying this is like the core thing which you said, and that people can also choose to buy insurance. Like companies can
Yeah,
choose to buy insurance also.
correct, correct.
So
Our
what is the pricing
pricing
for it?
starts at 49 rupees per employee per month, right? Um, Interesting anecdote out here. Uh, when we were building our office, right, we had a carpenter uh, who came in. He had a team of about uh, 8 or 10 people. So we told him that, भैया ऐसा कुछ देते हैं आप, you give something like this. So he said, "Sir, all these are all big fancy companies, sir. I need to make sure that I'm giving them their salaries." So he said, what if we give you a product which is, less than 100 rupees on a monthly basis, you need to pay for them. He started smiling and laughing and said, sir, there are no such products only. He said, we have a product. This is exactly the office that you're building for. He said, I'm more than happy to buy this because I spend close to about 400, 450 rupees only on their chai and nashta, that is tea and snacks for the whole month, right? And you're giving me a healthcare and wellness product which has, more perceived value, right? At less than rupees 100, right? And in fact, if he in fact went for an upgraded version of our health and wellness plan where he said, sir, you can include insurance also, right? And that starts at about 145 rupees per employee per month, right?
Okay, amazing.
So yeah, so that's how we kind of really, really created a micro health and wellness subscription product for SMEs.
What is your revenue split between insurance premium subscription for?
Yeah. So from a revenue perspective, obviously, insurance is a large part of it. But over the last few years, right, we started seeing a huge steep curve in our health and wellness because people are using more of teleconsultations. People are kind of, using more of these products, right? As and when the awareness starts increasing, right, we have seen close to about 30 to 40% growth on the health and wellness business year on year now in terms of adoption. And in fact, this is in line with the industry also, right? One of the hospital chains, which recently, and that's Apollo, right, which recently kind of, published their product, their quarterly results. I think their EBITDA has increased 33% year on year basis, only on their health and wellness part, right? I'm not talking about the hospital business, I'm talking the business which is outside of that, right? And I think this country is now seeing that health and wellness revolution, right? Uh, One of the recent papers that CII published, right, it mentioned that 72% of the workforce is asking for health and wellness products, right? They are saying that we want products which are, customized to our needs, right, or to our age group, right? And we're seeing that as a big, big uptake today, right, across the, working population, right? People are investing, on being fit, on making sure that they're taking prevention and not just going for a cure at the nth hour, right? People are taking more care of their physical appearance, right? People are more, and people are moving away from becoming Google doctors to actually going to a doctor and saying,
Yeah,
listen, these are my symptoms, right? So I think that kind
I
of a
believe
movement we're
that
seeing.
GPT doctor hasn't started yet.
Oh, by the way, there's an entire book on how that is going to come up. So, but
Okay.
that's for a different discussion between you and me on a later date. But there's an entire book that is actually trying to say that, that will also come through ChatGPT.
But give me like a is it like 25% of your revenue is from health and wellness or more or less or
Mm, It's more than 30% today.
okay,
Yeah.
got it. Which
So,
is fairly sizable
yeah,
considering that
absolutely.
a premium will always be a bigger amount.
Correct.
And, okay. So you know the product and how you have differentiated it uh, is so it's a differentiated product when you compare with legacy players. Like if you were to try and buy insurance through one of the legacy players, but now you have competitors. I think there are 4 or 5 other companies who have rings I think maybe you've raised more than them, but they're neck to neck in terms of how much money they have also raised. And, uh, the pitch is very similar: digital experience, complete self service, like hassle free. So, what is the right to win for Onsurity within this cohort of startups who are doing group health insurance?
Right. So, one, we never positioned ourselves as a group health insurance company, right? We always positioned ourselves as a health and wellness company, which also obviously you can, extend it to insurance. One, I think we are one of the a few players who have stuck to our ground and have, you know, focused on SMEs, right? I think most of the folks that we know of have now either moved from SMEs to mid market or large corporates. Right? And I think the reason why we were able to kind of, have that, ability to stick to the ground, right? So we work with close to about 6,000 organizations today, and we have served close to about 1.2, 1.3 million customers, right? And I think we are one of the fastest growing in the space today. I think the reason is because and as cliched it might sound, right? We really, really leverage technology, right? In the right way, right? For example, uh, most of the folks in the space, right? They work with about 8 to 10 insurance companies.
Okay.
Onsurity, at the other hand, said, when I work with 8 to 10 insurance companies, I cannot, standardize any of my processes, right? Right from a PSU to a private player to a more, digital friendly private. There is a spectrum of players today in the space. Each one of them having a separate way of looking at business, right? Different way, a different system, a different technology, different processes. Some are manual, some are digitized, and possibly known as digital, right? Um, and I think that's where we kind of said, listen, till we don't play the most important role in the consumer experience, right? We don't think that you know others, our back-to-back providers will be able to kind of help us scale, right? And that's where we kind of stuck to SMEs because we were able to say work only with one or two, you know, uh, companies, but at the same time ensure that we own the entire customer experience, right? At every stage, right at the time of purchase, right? We told them you're buying an Onsurity subscription, right? Yes, it does come with an insurance from a other player, but we as Onsurity will take the onus of the customer experience. We will ensure that we are the pathway between you and the insurance company. You don't have to go to because for another organization, you are just one single atomic unit. Right? But in my fabric, possibly the most important stitch, right? That if I don't deliver my experience to you, right, my entire garment might just fall. Right. So I think that has actually helped us differentiate, and that has actually helped us to kind of keep our customers engaged. Uh, for example, we were the first ones in the space to have a mobile app, right?
Okay.
We are the first ones to kind of ensure that we have a digital journey and not a digitized journey, right? I know of so many players who ask you to fill up forms online, but they actually take out printouts and send it
That's
to
it.
you,
Okay.
right? Uh, but these are not scalable solutions as an
Right.
organization, right? Uh, and one is the demand part of it. And I'm telling you one thing that in India there is no lack of demand, right? But how do you sort out your supply is the most important thing, right? And then my favorite example is that e-commerce companies are not e-commerce companies; they are logistics companies, right? They are operations companies, right?
It's true. True.
They are not demand generation; they are supply chain optimization organizations, right?
Yes.
And that's the way we look at it. We know that there is enough and more demand out there, right? But the person who does not use the right stack, the right thought process, the right philosophy, right, will never be able to crack some of these things. Right? There was no reason for Onsurity to come into this business at all because you already have close to about 34 odd insurance companies, which are your general insurance companies. give and take a few of them. And then you have close to about 5 or 7 now, health insurance, right? Standalone health insurance, as we call them, SAHI companies, right? Uh, they were already there. They should have met this demand of SMEs, right? There was no reason for an surety to be born, right? But we are there. We are catering to 6,000 odd organizations today, right?
So
Yeah.
would would this not increase your cost of acquiring customers? No, I'm assuming company with 300 people and a company with 3,000 people will take as much time to convince, because this is not a decision for which you add to cart and buy now. That won't happen with a product like this. So you will need a sales team to drive conversion. It'll cost you the same whether it's 300 people company or 3,000 people company. Like,
Um, will it cost surety the same for a 3,000 company or 300 member company or 30 member company? It will cost me more for a 3,000 company. I'll tell you the reason why. Because a 3,000 company still wants offline things. They still want a manual intervention, right? They
okay,
still want someone to talk to, right? They still want someone who will not be digital, right? And
okay,
SME wants to stay away from this, right? The SME wants to tell its his or her employees that, hey, there is an app. Just look at the app. You'll get your money. Look at the app. Everything is out there at the click of a button, right? Or just raise a ticket. Just chat with them on WhatsApp, and your query will get resolved,
right.
right? I can actually build operational efficiencies out there, right? Um, by the way, the smallest teams at Onsurity is the business teams. By the way, right? We are close to about 320 odd people. Our business teams added together would be close to about 40 odd people. And
What do you mean? Business team means like sales. Yes.
yeah. So we have like teams which specialize in each segment. So for example, we have a team which specializes only in micro segment. We have a team which looks at small and mid market, right? And then we have a team which looks at partnerships, right? Obviously, the DNA of partnership does not go away. Uh,
Yes.
So, for example, we work with the likes of Porter and Zepto today for their last mile
Gig
contractors,
workers.
yeah,
Okay.
gig workers. We've created programs for companies like Gulf for their influencers and their driver partners, right? So, and in fact, that was one which was, covered really, really well, across media. So, we work with, neo banks for all their salary account holders, right? Where we kind of bundle in our health and wellness packages, right?
Okay.
So, yeah, so from our perspective, the more tech we've been able to use, the lower our cost of acquisition has been, right? Uh, and because we have standardized our products, see, a large company wants n number of customizations, right? And
Yes.
SME is very happy with saying, hey, give me a standard product. And the more standardization that I create at my end, right? Lesser amount of efforts are required to, serve that customer, right?
Yeah.
So contrary, right? We love our small businesses. We love our micro businesses, right? Uh, Obviously, the odd large businesses that come and work with us, we ensure that we standardize them also, right? And the economics has worked out very differently from us. In fact, we've always been unit economics positive from day one in our business today.
Your sales approach is B2C or B2B? Like, a B2B approach would be like, say, cold emails, cold outreach, build a funnel like that. Or a B2C approach would be like, say, performance marketing, people onto a website, stuff like that. So what is your,
It's a hybrid one, honestly, right? We started off with inorganic uh, traffic, right, where we kind of done performance marketing, right? We've done our share of spends on digital marketing, creating us, making sure that we are there, ranking well, right? Making sure that if someone is looking for a certain kind of product, we kind of pop up for them. But uh, what we've realized is that. There is a fair share of outbound efforts also that our team puts in, right? But what we've seen is that because of our entire approach, right, we didn't have to we always focused on the middle and the bottom of the funnel, right? And hence relieved us of the pressure of creating a very large top of the funnel, right? When do you need a top of the funnel? When your product is commoditized, right? If I was any other intermediary, right, I needed to have a very large top of the funnel. But because I focus on the experience, because I focus on my, my differentiators, right, on my USPs, right, we are able to now say that, hey, you know what, with the same top of the funnel, by focusing on the conversions, right, across the rest of the funnel, right, we don't need to be that aggressive, right? So that's how it has played out well for us, which has now obviously reduced our cost of acquisition, which has optimized our future funnels also. Right? So yes, that has worked for us. And I think in the recent past, the one thing that anyone who does the SME business relies upon is the word of mouth. If because every other channel is not going to be that effective, right? There's a cost associated. So I think two word of mouth has worked for us. One word of mouth is business referring to our business. A very interesting word of mouth that happened for us is the SMEs went to a larger partner of theirs, of an MNC, and said, you know what, we work with Onsurity and we provide these products. Right? So if any of your partners who are like us, they wanted, you should refer Onsurity to them. Right. We are very proud. Today we work with an organization like Tally, right? Where we are kind of empaneled for all their distributors, right? And we see such a progressive nature of company like Tally, right? Because if I talk about Tally, most of the people will think that, array, it's a old age software company, right? And I'm telling
The
you that,
yes, first.
yeah, but it is
Right.
India's first SaaS. And because it is India's first SaaS, it is still not a legacy company, right?
Yeah.
The kind of progressive thinking that we see, right? Like, and I would love to name Tejas out here, but the kind of vision that Tejas has for the company, it is amazing. Right? They are the first ones to think about it and say that, hey, what can we do for our distributors? Right? How can we provide them these kind of avenues? Right? And they have got a partner like Onsurity, right? Who is now kind of interacting with their distributors and getting them and their employees onboarded. So yeah, I think this kind of a B2B strategy, both referral and a hybrid of marketing, online digital marketing spends has really worked for us.
Okay. Uh, Can you share some strategies to improve the funnel
Don't
conversion,
sell,
basically?
don't sell,
Okay.
solve problems, right?
Okay.
Uh, uh, we've been always going back in the funnel and asking people their problem statements. We have never told them that, uh, you know, so when we say once a contact has been made, right? The biggest problem is, how do you do engagement further, right? And that is one of my, my very, very deep belief that if you sell to people, no one wants to buy. If you solve problems, right, 10 more people will come to you, right? Uh, I'm going to take a little bit of, and I know this can be controversial, but in any religion, if you try to sell their text, no one wants to buy it because they feel they're getting converted. Right? But if you go and tell them that,
I'm with
hey,
you.
but if you go and tell them, hey, you know what, you're facing this issue in life. This is a philosophy that we preach. See if this helps you, and that's the time you have a deep belief in the company. Similarly, right, taking a page from that example, go and solve people's problem. In our middle of the funnel, we tell people, hey, are you facing problems of engagement? Are you facing problems of experience? Are you stuck with a problem which is so deep for you on the insurance side? Just talk to us. We'll help you solve it. And know what? We don't want your money. People have come back and said, hey, can you solve this problem for us? We've solved that problem for them. Right. And our next year's journey, we just got elevated from a vendor to a partner.
Mm,
So anything that we do at Onsurity,
mm.
as soon as a customer calls us a vendor, I know that my team says, sir, I'm not the right partner for you because you will treat me as a vendor and I will never have the right to give you the right advice.
How did you build salespeople who are problem solvers? Most salespeople are, I mean, there is very standard way of doing sales, and you're driven by targets and so on and so forth. Maybe you follow a very scripted approach. it just sounds very hard to build a team of salespeople who are problem solvers.
When you build salespeople from the industry, they want to sell. When you build a sales team where no one has got any experience, right? To achieve their numbers, they have to figure out, boss, iska problem kya hai,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Because honestly, I cannot stand in front of a 40-year-old veteran who has only sold insurance and say, boss, I know insurance better than them. I don't, right? Like, who am I kidding? मैं किसको बनाने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ. But if I stand out there and I tell them, give me a fair shot at solving your problem, I have people's ears, right? And this again, if you remember, right, earlier in our discussion, if I was a payment partner, I'm going to the CFO and discussing, rates, but I will be a growth partner, go to a completely different person, right?
And
And I'm discussing growth and I'm getting a seat on the table saying that, hey, this guy's aligning to my problem statement, right? So we've hired everyone in the team, right? And especially our initial team, we had no one from insurance.
wow. Okay. Amazing.
We had no one from healthcare and wellness. We got people on board who understand SME, who sold to an SME. It could be any product. It could be an HRMS product. It could be a banking product, right? It could be any product, but they should know how an SME, behaves. They should understand the pain points of an
I
SME.
empathy, basically.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So what's your ARR now?
Confidential.
There isn't.
We don't disclose that number. Sorry. But
How is it what is revenue for you? The premium that you collect is counted in
no.
revenue?
So we never collect premiums because premiums are collected by insurance companies, right? Our model is slightly differentiated because everything is bundled. What we collect is membership fees, right? Uh, Today, I can say that at an average, a user would pay close to what, anywhere between 250 to 600 rupees to Onsurity from ARPU perspective, right? And yeah,
And
so
how much in this, maybe some 50 to 70% would be going to insurance company.
not necessarily,
Depending
right?
on the split.
Not necessarily, because there are a lot of companies who take only wellness plans. Then the entire the
Like
entire
what's the
money is
blended average? Which would
but like you discussed it earlier, right? 30% of our business is basically health and wellness. So yes,
right. Okay, got it.
yeah.
Okay. Have you, like, is it between 50 to 100 CR, 100 plus? Like very broad.
Yeah, we crossed our 100 CR milestone last year. So
Okay.
we've crossed that milestone, yes.
So
Yeah.
let me end with this question. What's your advice to founders who are starting off and want to build and be like 100 CR plus ARR kind of a business? What's your advice to them?
My first advice is don't start up, right? Because people are starting up for all the wrong reasons, right? Some people are starting up because, if that product can do well, I'll disrupt that product, right? Someone is starting because, I want my company to be a unicorn, right? I have no idea about my product, but I know my company wants to become a unicorn, right?
Yeah, unicorn is like the standard reason to start is to build a unicorn.
Yeah, right. Like, oh, I want the seat at the table of the unicorn table. No one understands what goes behind the unicorn table. All right. I think the biggest advice is please solve a problem. All right. Many problems out there. Don't start a business because it will give you access to massive amount of capital. In fact, if you don't raise the capital, that is possibly a great thing to do, right? Like, I think I would be like the millionth person to say that, founders like Nikhil and Nitin Kamath, right, who did the business without a dime coming from outside. Right? Great businesses, yeah.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Great businesses, right? Paras Chopra, whom people would have not heard of, but of Wingify, right? Built a business completely without that. Oh, unicorn, like Zoho has been built without external capital, right?
Yeah.
But these people all have succeeded because they solved the right problem, right? They were ready to grind, right? don't solve because, oh, I will call the shots. Believe me, that's a myth. You never call the shots, right? If anything else, your day will go in conflict management. Your day will go in, the smallest things that are not falling in place, right?
Yeah.
If you have, and if you have your own office, you will be solving for the AC temperature also, right? And at the same, and the next minute you'll be talking to an investor also, right? And you'll have people coming and saying, "Sir, ये seat ठीक नहीं था. I want to leave the company." And you're like, "Dude, like seriously, chair के लिए, right?" So I think, believe me, in today's day and age, if you know that you're going to be building a business fundamentally, on first principles basis, right? You're thinking profitability, you're thinking sustainability, right? Then those are the reasons that you should be building a business for. For everything else, don't do it, right? There are a lot of companies who are looking for, who are ready to kind of give you the capital and, create a, sort of a startup within their environment. Those are also equally great opportunities, right? Uh, it's not necessary that you have to have your own company all the time. I think there are so many companies who are looking to kind of disrupt, right? Join one of those. And entrepreneurship is not a title, it is a state of mind. And hence, if you want to be an entrepreneur, go join a startup which is doing 0 to 1. If you can survive that, and if you can survive at least one function in that particular company, right? It's one milestone that you've achieved to say that, yeah, possibly I can do more.
Hmm.
So, yes. And if you're looking, and being a health and wellness company, I shouldn't be saying this. I know that, very contradictory, but a startup will not be able to offer you the best, work-life balance. It's not going to be an easy journey, right? You'll have to be mentally strong, right? You cannot just hear one feedback and say, "Arey, I'm mentally disturbed," because the first thing that as an entrepreneur that you need to do is grow a thick skin, right?
Yes.
You need to have a thick skin. You need to say, you know what, anything that comes, I have to fight it because I have no plan B, right? If you go into an entrepreneurship journey with a plan B, plan is never going to work out.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. So true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for your time, Kulin. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you so much, Akshay, for having me.